Perfect. So everyone's seated. Good morning, everyone. So how does it feel to be here in person? Finally, it's almost, 3 years since we had our last one in 2019. So welcome you all who's attending in person, and also a warm welcome to those who are attending online from around the world. So far, I think we've got 600 registrants, not that they'll all be attending most sessions. Some may even be just signing up and be able to watch the YouTube videos later on. But again, thank you all for participating, both online and in person. I'm Seto, the moderator of the summit technical session over the next 2 days. This is our first attempt of a hybrid conference, and hopefully it will work well. It's actually the 12th annual technical symposium that we've been hosting. So before we proceed, I would like to point out the floor plan for safety purpose. We're currently in the presentation and AGM room, and over to my right, or actually you exit and go around, on the right-hand side is the poster gallery, where you can look at the posters prepared by our graduate students from around the world on different subject matters. And going further down to the right-hand side, all the way to the corner would be the washrooms that you could use. And there are 4 emergency exits. They are actually at the end of each corridor. One, again, by the washroom to the far right here, and to the other side, there's a set of stairs as well. Where you came up from the elevator, there's also an exit, as well as going to the other end at the northwest corner of the building. There are 4 emergency exits. So we do not anticipate any fire drill today. So if you hear any fire alarm, just slowly go over to the fire escapes and to the ground floor and exit out of the building. So I also want to acknowledge the support and the organization of Ricardo Garza, the VP Operations, being the host of the technical session, and the co-host in Aneta Monica, who's our admin assistant. So for our online audience, you're placed in listen or view mode only. However, if you move your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you get to see the audio settings that you can set. The chat function is only used among ourselves, so you could raise your hand in case of any technical difficulties and other issues. During the Q&A session, you can also post questions on the Q&A. I believe the live transcript is working. You can certainly click on that and get a live transcript of the session. You can certainly leave on the using the red button. So to see where fossil fuel share of the primary energy consumption would be over the next 28 years, we'll look at the BP Energy Outlook 2022. There are 3 graphs. One is the new momentum, is basically where the global energy system is currently progressing, aiming to decarbonize. And there's accelerated the net zero cases, which would mean the changes in different elements of the energy system to achieve a substantial reduction in carbon emissions. So global energy supply by fossil fuels is expected to be reduced from 80% currently to below 20% by 2050 in the net zero scenario. As a funder and promoter of university research in energy resource modeling, historically supporting the petroleum industry, our question would be, how may energy simulation research chair programs support the global energy transition to net zero in a meaningful way? So, is there a magical solution? So first of all, we should recognize that the world will still need fossil fuels, particularly for developing nations. in the next few decades. So without expanding the environmental footprints by exploring new hydrocarbon resources, our focus would be on enhanced oil recovery, employing clean technology to help support the transition to a low carbon energy world. So here's a chart that shows the global CO2 emissions since the 1900s. Despite the Paris Accord 7 years ago, December 2015, other than the COVID-19 induced reduction in 2020, carbon emissions have risen every year since that time. The BP Energy Outlook 2022 shows that we would need dramatic measure as shown here. So when I superimpose the outlook on that, you see that to get to a net zero, the light blue line has to drop substantially compared to the historical rise. So a lot of work got to be done in this area. So there is definitely an urgency in advancing carbon capture, utilization, and storage projects to help achieve net zero by 2050. So CCUS is an enabler for most, if not all, energy resource development projects. So playing to our strength in subsurface energy modeling, we should also look at geothermal energy. According to the IPCC, which stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, in 2010 estimate, there is a potential of a wide range, 0.035 to 2 terawatts of geothermal energy that could be harnessed. So in comparison, the world electricity consumption was about 2.7 terawatts. So if you're on high, that's an estimate in 2019. So you could push to the high end of geothermal energy by going deeper, hotter rock. It could potentially supply a lot of global electricity in a cleaner fashion. So we do need to assess geothermal energy resource that can be economically, efficiently, and safely deployed and developed. So our strategic direction is to support global transition, particularly in the area of EOR, CCUS, and geothermal research. So that should help open the window to a more sustainable energy future. Although we cannot promise you a rose garden, but we can try to strive to help to keep it that way through our chair's leading edge research that aim to make a positive impact to the industry and society with environmental, social, and governance considerations. So here's the agenda for the summit and the school. Over the next 2 days, we have two technical sessions, a symposium for everyone. Following the 2 days of technical session, we will have a school on geothermal energy for the 40 selected students from our chair universities worldwide. So on day one, which is today, our focus is mostly on the oil and gas side of things and geomechanics, as well as data science. So we started with 3 presentations, followed by a poster session, which you feel free to go over there for about an hour, talking to our students and any specific subject matters that they're doing research on. And then we'll have 2 more presentations, followed by a 1-hour lunch. And after the lunch, we'll encourage our industry members and everyone else to stay here behind for the annual general meeting, where we'll elect our directors to be led by the chairman of the board of directors, Mr. Bob King. And then we'll have 1 more presentation before another poster session and a networking session for an hour, and that'll be the end of the day. For our online audience, after the last presentation at 2 o'clock Calgary time, that will be the end of the session. and then we'll go over to tomorrow, the second day. The change of theme would be going towards more of the geothermal side of the business, as well as hydrogen storage and CCUS, plus an actual case history on the CO2 storage project to be discussed as well. All presentations and posters actually have been uploaded to our website under events and archive. You can feel free to upload at any time. So as for the technical school, our 40-some students will be attending. I would like to recognize the organization and teaching to be led by Roman Shaw, Sebastian Geiger, and Marion Bramer, who will be helping us all in the school. Also recognize the University of Calgary of providing the classroom facilities. And not to mention one of our industry members, Effort Technologies, for hosting a show and tell about their closed loop geothermal system technology, drilling, and most aspects. Basically, how to transfer or translate the research experience into a real life, real world type of exercise. That's much appreciated. So before inviting our first speaker to the podium, I'll quickly go over how to post questions for our online audience during the session. So each session will be about 20 minutes long, followed by 10 minutes of a question. And for the audience, there's a mic in the middle, in person. Come on up to ask questions. Appreciate your stating your name and affiliation before posing questions. And then and I'll be monitoring the Q&A online to ask questions on behalf of the online audience. So if there are any questions that are unanswered, that's why we need to capture your name and affiliation so that we could get an answer from our chairs and email back to you after the session. And there's also a QR code, and actually on most of the tables, coffee tables outside, that you can scan to actually get the copy of the agenda so you could follow. At the end of the first three presentations will be online poll questions for our online audience. What industry and field of studies are you in? It would be good for us to gauge the interest in different areas for our future